Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's panel, Developing Policies and Strategies for Skill Cultivation in the Era of AI. My name is Fadwa AlBawardi. I'm a founder and CEO of FSAB Consulting Office in Digital Transformation and a member of the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC, Saudi Arabia. And I will be the moderator for today's panel. Today we have a distinguished panel of experts from the industry. We have Scollay, Director of Datacenter Business at Do. We have Ryder, CEO of Leading Edge Global. We have Hanane Ghiouane, Senior Commercial Advisory, Energy, Environment and Tech at the Trade Council of Denmark in MENA. As AI, cloud infrastructure and cybersecurity increasingly integrate with data center operations, the question becomes, how do we balance practical policy recommendations with long-term strategic planning for skill development? Our discussion will explore this question and will explore this balance and the current landscape and emerging needs, as well as strategies to ensure remaining at the forefront of technological innovation and workforce readiness. So let's begin the discussion. From your perspective, how is the current skills shortage or talent gap impacting data centers and related industries?
Great question, Hanane, thanks. Look, I think we've had a skills shortage across the board even before this AI revolution started over the last couple of years. It's been a kind of consistent issue that we try to resolve. We've got national policies in place which have been pretty effective at bringing global talent in. We've also got domestic policies to upskill people and increase training. But now it gets a little bit more pronounced because there's really almost like a war on for talent. Places like the United States, which are contributing something like 70% of the world's compute, and that ratio is increasing. And they've got very, very deep pockets. We've seen these crazy stories about people like Mark Zuckerberg paying $100 million to personally hire some top talent expert, which we clearly can't do here. So having a range of policies across the board is very important. Being able to attract talent is important. Things like the Golden Visa program certainly help. And then, for us as stakeholders as well, we need to be focusing on this, make sure we have an AI-first policy so that, everybody culturally kind of gets it and starts to address the skills gaps themselves and when they're teaching their staff and managers and stakeholders as well.
Totally agree with you, Raz. I think the skills gap, it affects delays in infrastructure development. Competition will also push wages up, which will affect the budgets and many other vulnerabilities. So, Lauren, based on your expertise in working with data center companies globally to future-proof their workforce, let me ask you this. Beyond government, what responsibility should industry stakeholders, operators, hyperscalers accept in building and funding the next generation of digital talent?
Look, I think industry has to take complete control over this. You can't just rely on the government or universities to do something, because if we do that, we're going to be waiting for a very long time. So, look, there's a lot of great global examples, programs that are run globally. Microsoft has a cloud skills program. They train thousands of people globally. Amazon has their AWS Academy, where they partner with universities and they come out with Amazon certified cloud people. We also have other businesses globally who have data center academies. There is a lot to learn from what industry is doing globally that we can bring to the UAE, but I think really the key is that the hyperscalers, the operators, the enterprises, that they actually take control and take a hold of it and actually realize that if we need skills for the future, we have got to start now. We can't just rely on getting people from other countries. We have to build inbuilt talent within the UAE now so it's ready for the future.
I totally agree with you. And there are some key skills that we need to focus on, like network engineering, like cybersecurity, also cloud infrastructure, AI integration skills. These are all key skills. Thank you, Lauren. Hanane, you mentioned earlier before the panel the importance of AI's responsible use. Could you elaborate, please, on how skills development links to building trust, governance, and sustainability?
Thank you, Fadwa. No, I think, with the excitement of technology, we need to always remember people and how we operate, and we're creatures of habit. And it's all about, for me, responsible AI is not just about ethics, but also maintaining, the interest of the company. So it's about, bringing the skills for people who know how to use, audit, and design AI in a controlled manner and without losing control of responsibly, of course. So beside my nice role here, I also was part of some research with Copenhagen Business School, where I had the pleasure of interviewing 27 leaders last year and also collecting data through surveys. And how many do you think were prepared for the AI use across the organization? I was focusing mostly on multinational. Just like a hands-up show, like 2, 3, 5. How many do you think out of 27 were prepared? 2. One of them was Microsoft. So it just shows like we're blindly going into, deploying tech without considering black box ethics. There are a lot of issues. Sometimes I think it's good to slow down, put a strategic flow down. We see that now, there are AI committees that, especially multinationals. But no, I think it's all about, there was also the other aspect of awareness in general. From the survey, I asked how many is aware of the footprint of AI. And for that, there was 5%. And the entries were not that many, so again, sample size was not super, but it just shows that there's a lot of work to be done.
Great insight, Hanane. I totally agree with you. That's why UNESCO, the UN, and many organizations, they are currently focusing on AI ethics. Raz, what types of national or regional policies could you think most effectively address the digital skills gap?
Yeah, I think, and to Lauren's point, you need an effective government to have effective government strategies as well. So we're lucky in this part of the world, I think especially the UAE, where they're quite good at execution. So we've come out with a number of AI initiatives here, ranging from our AI strategy through to an education policy where all public school students from kindergarten through to year 12 are now getting compulsory AI education. That was announced only very recently, and it came into force, I think, this week with the beginning of the 2025 term. So, it remains to be seen how effective that is, but at least the speed of execution is very, very impressive. So all of these policies start to interlock, and if they do, that will obviously have a big impact. As I mentioned, policies for professionals, things like the Golden Visa program, or other ways that people will feel mobility is safe and they can come, and then they're more likely to stay. They're less likely to then move to the next hotspot as well. And I think those are starting to pay off. So just having a cohesive strategy is really important, and then being able and willing to tweak that strategy as things move forward.
Thank you, Raz. I agree with you. Lauren, can you kindly also add to this point?
Yeah, so I agree, and I think we need to look at the skills as short, medium, and long term. And I love the school children all going through that is a long-term goal. It will take a while for them to come into the workforce. So if we look at sort of some more short and medium-term ideas, in the short term, as we said, we can bring people in with Golden Visa. I think anything where we can fast-track talent, take away that red tape from getting them in and making the UAE a really great place to live. Like, how do we actually attract them to the area? So that's where you get skills that you need in the short term, because we certainly need that. There are other programs that I have seen work. In Australia, they have a really great cross-skilling program for data centers, where we've taken people from oil, gas, and mining. They understand power, they understand cooling, they understand complex operations. So, within 6 months, you can reskill them and bring them into the data center world. And then a little bit more medium term, we work with in the EU. It's a program that's based out of France, but it's EU based, where the French government pays for organizations to take 18 to 25s and move them to a country that is not their home country. And it's about an 18-month program, and they can move to different countries. But the organization has to sponsor that. So, I know Schneider Electric is doing that within the EU, and that is working really well. So if there are ways for the UAE government to be able to have programs such as that to bring people into the UAE, then perhaps that's an idea for the medium term.
Yeah, these are great ideas, very incentive. Thank you, Lauren. Hanane, can you kindly also comment on the policies?
No, I agree with Lauren just said. I mean, there's also great potential in transfer skills from other sectors. Like, how many here are from Greenbuild, like me? No? I'm the only one? Okay. But, we also see them from telecom. So, it's not necessarily just an educational reform. I mean, we see also countries in the EU focusing more, putting empathy and human cognitive skills on the school curricula. We see, of course, a lot of great examples in the UAE, who's already been mentioned throughout the day. And then, of course, opening the biggest AI campus in Abu Dhabi. So, of course, this is a strong signal. But in terms of policies, there are plenty. I think the GCC and Europe are okay, good place. I think Asia probably will feel maybe a big blowout. But I think, yes, to summarize, we should have like a hybrid model, so focusing on local talent plus keeping global expertise, finding it attractive to come to the strong AI economies.
Thank you for your insights. I also agree that we need to have a comprehensive, multi-layer policy approach, and it's very important to combine synergy. We need to have a synergy blend of education reforms as well as reskilling initiatives and talent attraction. So, Raz, let's hear your insights again, kindly about different points. The responsibilities that public-private collaborations and industry stakeholders need in order to have long-term strategies. And can you share some examples, please?
Okay, good. So I've touched on some of the UAE national strategies, and they obviously interlock down to the corporate level. So, for example, when the government announced that they want every large company to appoint or create a position for a chief AI officer, so we immediately go and do that. Things like this start to drive this AI-first culture through the entire business, which I think is really important. And as Hanane said, it's also important not to rush into things. You need to consider what is your actual strategy, what are you trying to get out of this, like plan properly. I think, especially when you talk about AI, it's a confusing area. It means something different to everybody. There's a lot of new technologies coming out. So are we talking about these really hard technical skills, like, for example, machine learning and, the really advanced levels of coding, which require very, very specialized, almost computer scientists, right to the other extreme where, we also need human skills, in this age of AI. I was at a talk the other day with Sandy Zuckerberg, the little sister of Mark Zuckerberg. And she was saying, one of the reasons she left Facebook and how, like, in this digital age, actually, people are craving the human aspect ever more. So you can't solve everything with technology. You actually need to figure out how human skills are going to evolve. So, for example, how HR will evolve, how your training systems will evolve, teaching, learning, and sales, and all of these other interactions that still require that human interface have to be part of that strategy. And taking your time to make sure that meets your business objectives, and then checking in on those milestones as they move, and being willing to adjust the plans depending on whether they're actually achieving your objectives or not, is really key, because otherwise you end up with people just doing things that maybe aren't going to achieve a result, and they can keep doing them for quite some time before eventually it stops.
I totally agree with you, and we need always to have the objective as human-centric. This is very important. Lauren, when we talk about PPPs and public-private partnerships, when we talk the government, the academia, and the industry to develop sustainable long-term skill cultivation strategies. Do you have any examples in mind for that?
Yeah, look, there's a few countries that have done that really well, and when the government and universities and companies all work together, some amazing things do happen. Singapore is a fantastic example of that. They've got a Skills Future program where they work together, and it's really about co-designing the curriculum so that it actually is for work. I mean, I think this is always the challenge, isn't it? We get university graduates who are wholly unprepared for the workforce because they're taught something, the curriculum that was designed 10 years ago, and that's not what's in the business today. So if we can actually take something of that model, then that works. I think there's something as well around help creating capability development plans and understanding how to design careers for the future, and really sort of circulating that. I think one thing, I mean, I've got one child in university, one who's about to start next year, and I don't think it's been made clear to them what careers look like in the future. I mean, I'm not sure we know either with the future of AI. But I think that if we can make career development plans, again, in partnership with government and university and business, then at least we have our youngsters coming out of university and understanding where their future may lay so they can actually have a path to go forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with your insights. It's very important, and I like the examples that... Hanane, can you kindly share with us also some examples regarding the PPPs, and how do you see this is cultivating the talents?
No, I'm a big believer in PPPs, and I think when we look at leading countries in various sectors, usually it's because they have a quite strong PPP setup in their native sectors. But no, I think the university is a great example. I remember experiencing it myself. I was studying as general engineer, and I was told this is the most expensive line. We want to shut it down. And then the university was stopped from doing that from the industry. We were like, hold up, actually, we actually like them. We want to keep seeing more graduates from this line. So no, I think the industry have a great say, and of course, regulators, policies, they know that technology moves faster. One way of coping with that, one example could be the EU Code of Conduct for Green Data Centers. So they know the member countries were not able to regulate specifically for data centers back in 2020. So EU's response for that was, coming together with the industry and different governments across the region and building a conduct as a kind of, guiding star. And of course, the region have plenty. I think Morahab was speaking here earlier. There are also some great examples in the UAE, I'm sure most are aware of.
Perfect, thank you. I agree that PPPs are an effective mechanism that will help us to have a sustainable skill growth, as well as a long-term ecosystem development in that area. Governments, they provide funding, policy support, and infrastructure. Academia, they provide research capabilities, scholarship, funding, and a talent pool. And industry partners, they provide the actual training, the practical insights, the real-world projects and mentorship, as well as innovation. So, Raz, do you see AI? You have spoken about AI, the future of AI. Do you see AI itself as a solution to the skills shortage by automating tasks, or as a driver of demand for even more advanced technical skills, or the opposite?
Probably yes. AI should be able to advance and accelerate learning. One of the things that chatbots like ChatGPT are extremely good at is teaching us things. And we've all used ChatGPT to find some information out. I'm sure everybody in this room has. And we've all sometimes done it without telling anybody that we did it. So I think so we've all learned different ways of using these tools to learn, and that's part of it. But if we are then also able to teach each other what we've learned and these tricks, and as Sandy Zuckerberg called it, like secret spells. Once you've learned how to do something, you have your own kind of, secret spell you can use. And so understanding how we're going to do that, I think, will be fundamental. But then we also all need to look back at our own roles, jobs, job positions, careers, departments, and realize that, what would this look like in a fundamentally AI-driven world? Take the example of a language teacher who's teaching a foreign language every day, and they're going to feel very disrupted by what things like ChatGPT can do. So in the future, will a language teacher be doing exactly the same job? Well, maybe, but maybe the good ones will be a little bit more technically skillful, and they'll be using these technologies together with their own skills. And maybe instead of teaching one client, they'll be teaching 5 or multiple, but they'll be using their own sort of skills alongside all of these technical skills, which will need to be changing all the time because the software and hardware available to them will be changing all the time as well. And so that's very confronting, I think, for a lot of people, is that realizing that we're going to have to just keep reinventing everything that we do going forward. But yeah, I think the answer is yes.
A good point of view, thank you. Lauren, same question. Do you see AI as a solution or as a challenge to the skills?
Look, I think when we talk about AI, I like to think about it as sort of 2 separate pieces. We've got our personal productivity tools, this is our ChatGPTs and our co-pilots, and then we look at enterprise AI, and that's when we can start automating entire functions like finance and customer service, all of that. The challenge that we have is that personal productivity tools, there has been 0 proof that they have actually created any efficiency in business whatsoever. Individually, you might get through your emails faster, but as a business, we're not really saving anything. And so businesses going forward are going to want to use the enterprise AI. And so if we want to do that, what's going to happen is people come in and they say, well, great, but AI is going to take my job. Well, the only way that we're going to get people to not fight AI is to get them to want to use it. And Ryder said something a bit earlier about creating an AI culture. And that's about creating a place where people want to use AI. And I think, as we've just said, we need to have a place where the people and the robots work closely together and enjoy that work. Now, the question is about, what are the skills for the future? And I think one of the big challenges is, because we are going to automate workforces and entire functions, the jobs of today are not going to be the jobs of tomorrow. And so AI will take a lot of our workforce. And so we need to be thinking about what are the skills for the future? How do we design work where we can be in charge of our own automations and our own robots? And so I think it actually brings in a challenge to be able to, when we have AI, but I think the companies that embrace it, particularly as a culture where they have data literacy and they understand cybersecurity and they understand how AI can benefit them, I think are the companies that are going to win in this.
Perfect, thank you. Hanane, how do you see AI as a disruption force?
I think, it's a relief, but it's also a pressure valve. I fully agree. We need to build an AI culture, and, as you mentioned with ChatGPT, I think it reminded me of a very interesting example that I discovered last year was multiple, big consultancies like Deloitte developed their own language models, paired. I think one of them was Scollay. And once they deployed it, they found out the usage percentages of the whole organization were like 4 or 5%. And that's because, again, human understanding, creatures of habit, most were still using ChatGPT, which is, of course, a big challenge for the legal department, as they have no control of what data has been submitted and is stored somewhere in Silicon Valley or under California law. So it's, again, what do we invest in? What do we look at? What is going to be productive for the organization, but also for the society? I think it's also important to remember the government's here's role is, of course, industry should take a lead and be proactive, but their core objectives is profit. So I think what the national policy should be is more like finding incentives and programs to avoid de-skilling and also create that awareness general and so the society level what AI actually entails. So I think, without it's the pace. I think to avoid de-skilling, black box decision, and just workforce alienation overall.
Great. So I would like also to go back to Raz. Regarding skill set in data centers, what is like the concluding statement or idea that you might have regarding that, whether it's recommendation, whether it's a concern, challenges?
I think in conclusion, my thoughts are that this problem is not actually a new problem. It's the same problem that we had before. It's just that things have changed a little bit faster. So, especially if we think about the context that we're in here, in this country, in this region, we've always had an imported skill set, and then we've strived as fast as possible to increase our own local and domestic skills and then tie those together with varying degrees of success. And I would say some good success in some ways. But Singapore is another example where they've taken, some different paths, and they've also had some great results. So we're facing now as a newer version of the same thing, and it requires not necessarily an entirely new approach. The things that we already did before, if they're working, we should do more of them. If they're not working, well, we need to think and adjust. For us, within our own business, we have a number of challenges, just simply attracting talent and being able to keep them. It's such a fierce, competitive market. It's very, very difficult to get people to come. It's very difficult to get them to stay. The cost of talent and salaries is basically going up, but not always. Like there are some areas where it's sort of very patchy, and it can seem almost unfair as well at times. So there's a lot to do, I would say, for us, and we just have to keep at it.
Yeah, I agree. It requires a lot of planning. So, Lauren, any concluding statement regarding data centers and?
Look, I travel the world and go to data center conferences in many different countries and different regions, and I think this market is very much on the upswing. It is in the growth, but I think what we can see, as Raz said, there's so much more maturity in other markets, and it would be remiss if we didn't actually lean on that experience. And so, my thought would be go and speak to people from other regions to be able to learn from them. And I think the other thing that I see a lot going on is the collaboration. So we go to conferences and there are deals being made left, right, and center all over the floor. And I think if we can make sure that the mindset here is about collaboration, about working together, about sharing information, I think we are better as a whole, as a community, working together, and we will see great things happen in this region.
Perfect, thank you. Hanane, any concluding statement about data centers and hiring and skills in there?
I mean, she just said it, collaboration, it's music in my ears. I think we need to realize fragmentation is our common enemy. Like, we will not get as far as fast as we want if you don't we share a little bit together. I think from my experience here with the data center industry is quite positive. I think there's a bit more open doors compared if you go to other regions. But if you can build upon that, and just build that journey that benefits the industry overall.
You're right, it's a journey. I totally agree. So let me conclude with some statistics. As per BCG, the global demand for data center power is to grow at approximately 16% on a compound annual basis from the years 2023 to 2028. And as per IDC survey, International Data Corporation, the survey predicts that by 2026, more than 90% of organizations worldwide will feel the pain of IT skills crisis, and that amounts to $5.5 trillion in losses. Therefore, long-term sustainable plans, policies, and practices are essential. I would like to thank our panelists for your valuable insights and for the engaging discussion. It's clear that balancing immediate industry needs with long-term strategic planning is what we need. I agree with you. Once again, thank you everyone for being with us and for your participation. It was wonderful being with you, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.